When's the last time you've gone fishing? On today's Matt Chat, we're going to be talking about why it is a bad idea to treat your purpose like a hobby. So many of us have things that we were put on this earth to do. We have things that spark energy in us like nothing else. We have things that excite us, that give our lives meaning, and we completely neglect them and treat them like they're mere hobbies. It's a huge mistake. And we end up spending our lives doing a whole bunch of things that we don't want to be doing, spending our lives distracting ourselves because we feel unfulfilled in our lives, spending our lives trying to satisfy other people's expectations of us, all because we treat our purpose like hobbies. So we have to be clear on what the difference between purpose and hobby is, because a lot of times we get it confused. Yes, both of them are things that we enjoy doing. Yes, both of them are things that we might consider to be fun. But there's a fundamental difference between something that we enjoy doing and something that we were put on this earth to do. A hobby is just something that we do to pass time. Like I mentioned, fishing when I opened up. I mean, for some people, fishing is their purpose, but I'm using it as a common hobby because everybody knows fishing. A hobby you do whenever you have free time. You do whenever you can get to it. There's no obligations in hobbies. Purpose is how you serve your community. Purpose is how you serve the world around you, how you contribute. So there's a huge difference between a hobby and your purpose. Your identity is tied into your purpose. And we're social creatures. So a lot of our identity is tied into the relationships that we have with the people around us. And the only way that those relationships can be fulfilling for us and the people around us is that they have to be tied to our purpose. It has to be the way that we're meant to serve the people around us. Like I said, our identities are highly tied into our relationships. And if we have relationships with the people around us without purpose attached to those relationships become superficial. We end up seeking validation from the people around us as opposed to establishing an identity with the people around us. So purpose is going to be very, very, very important in determining how we relate to the people around us. When you neglect your purpose, life becomes draining. Life becomes meaningless. Life becomes a burden. And then what we do is we start to seek out cheap thrills to occupy our brains, to entertain us, because we're living in a life living an empty life. So that's why it's so important to identify our purpose and make sure that we keep a place in our lives for our purpose. But most of us are brushing our purpose under the rug and treating it like a hobby. We've all had things that we used to do that excited us, that we felt alive while doing. But for some reason, we put it in the hobby category. And when it's in the hobby category, it ends up not being done because life is going to throw responsibilities at you. And when we don't have a purpose behind what you're doing, it starts to fall down the line as far as priorities are concerned. So that's why it's very important to make sure that once you establish those things in your life, those activities in your life that excite you, that energize you, that you continue pursuing them. You continue cultivating them. You continue to keep them in your lives. But again, we make a huge mistake by just treating it like it's a cheap thrill, treating it like it's a hobby. It's not a hobby. When you neglect your purpose, you're walking around with a eternal emptiness. It's hard for you to find reason for your life. You don't have that spark of energy that's driving you. Your life doesn't have any meaning. And we make the mistake of neglecting our purpose and writing it off as a luxury, as something that's not crucial to our existence. And we pay a huge price of living a life, an empty life, living a life that doesn't have any meaning. And society will tell us and teach us that it's irresponsible to go after these things. That, oh, you're older now, you don't have time to do this, you don't have time to do that. Oh, you have to pay bills. And I see it all the time. The story of people walking into the gym and saying, man, I've always wanted to do martial arts, but I never could find the time. And I always tell them, I'm saying, hey, the fact that you've wanted to do this since you were a little kid and you still want to do this, this is part of your purpose. And you've neglected it. And you think that you're being responsible by putting it off, by putting other things in front of it by prioritizing other things. But really what you're doing is you're being irresponsible to yourself. Because at the end of life, when you look back at life and all of those regrets are piled up, and all of the questions of what could have been start to bombard you, you're going to regret it. You're going to, and people don't do this enough. You got to visualize that moment when you're taking that last breath. I don't understand that people aren't thinking about this. How it feels. We experience it already in life. Just imagine being at the end of life and having to deal with that regret. It's no wonder why people are so afraid of death. Just the taste of regret that we experience in our life, just by that you can tell that the ultimate regret is going to be painful. So we have to make sure that when something presents itself in our lives and we get that feeling of, wow, this is what I'm meant to do, we have to go after those things. Those things need to be top priority, because that feeling is actually a clue telling you that this is what you're meant to be doing. This is going to be how you contribute to society. This is going to be how you contribute to the world around you. This is going to be how you will leave the world better than you found it. And that is what life is about. And if you go through life without feeling that you made a contribution, that you left this place better than you found it, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine. We go through life feeling empty, and then we get drawn to these distractions, because that's what happens when you're not living in your purpose. You try to forget about it. You try to numb yourself, because you're fighting just unmanageable amount of regret, emptiness, unbearable. So you do things to pass time. And that's why I believe that in today's society, why entertainment is such a big market. Because everybody's trying to distract themselves from the fact that they are not living in their purpose. Everybody's trying to fantasize through these means of entertainment about a life that they don't live, that they're not living. When you're in your purpose, life is so interesting. You don't need to occupy your attention with fiction. Reality is already amazing enough for you. But how do you take something that excites you and then turn it into your purpose? A lot of times we when we're younger, we do something. It might be singing, it might be playing an instrument. We do something and it gives us that feeling of excitement. It charges us. We see that we have a talent towards something. And a lot of us go through life without ever cultivating that talent. When you identify something that, first of all, excites you, then you figure out that you have a knack for it. That is a huge clue that you're on to something, that you're on to how you're supposed to be contributing to the world around you. So you have to take that talent, you have to take that knack, that instinct that you have that's a seed, and you have to cultivate it. You have to feed it with discipline. You have to feed it with commitment. You have to feed it with determination. Because that seed will eventually grow into your biggest contribution. That seed will actually give you your identity, but you have to cultivate it, and you have to go back to what I said starting off. You cannot treat that purpose like a hobby. You have people here, most people who have some serious talents that they never cultivated, that they brushed under the rug. Oh yeah, I used to sing, I used to do this, I don't do that anymore. Because they don't understand the importance of it. They don't understand that that is going to give your life the meaning that you need. And you have to fuel that talent with commitment, with determination, with discipline. So in order to do that, you have to make sure that you keep that, when you identify something that you have an instinct toward, that's your talent, you cultivate it, you build it, you build on it, and you have to make sure that those things stay central to your life, in your life. You have to make it priority. It's more important than your job, to be quite honest with you. You have to build your life around that purpose. Because that purpose eventually will give you everything that you need from life. Life is about give and take. And the way that you receive in life is you figure out how much you can give. And if you're in a situation where you are able to give your purpose, you're able to contribute to the world, contribute to your community, contribute to your family, the way that you were meant to be, the way that you were meant to be contributing, then the world around you is going to contribute to you. And that's how it works. And the reason why we're walking around feeling imbalanced, confused, is because we don't have that natural flow of the way things are supposed to go. So you have to keep that purpose central. Because as we get older, as we start to pick up responsibilities, as we start to move along in life, life doesn't give you the time for a hobby. And a lot of times when you put your purpose in that hobby category, that's how us as adults end up completely forgetting about the things that we've been put on this earth to do. So it's very important that as we get older, as we take on more responsibility, we make sure that we fulfill the responsibility that we should have to ourselves. Because that responsibility that we have to ourselves is also the biggest responsibility that we have to the world around us. If you were meant to be something for the world, for the community that you live in, for the world around you, and you don't fulfill that, that's irresponsible. If you have a talent, a gift that you were meant to give the world around you, and you don't give it, that's irresponsible. If you were supposed to be making a specific contribution and you don't make that contribution, that's irresponsible. Because as you get older, you don't forget about that. You don't forget about those things. Just like I said, I see it all the time. People come in and they say, hey, I've always wanted to do martial arts. Well, I'm like, well, you're 35 years old. You haven't forgot about it already? No, because you don't forget about those things. They don't go away. They get heavy, heavy, heavy. And they weigh you down when you neglect them. And then the ultimate regret of you getting to the end of your life and not fulfilling your responsibility to the world around you, that's a tough cookie to swallow. So we have a responsibility not to treat our purpose like a hobby. It's not a hobby. That is the biggest responsibility that we have. We're not being responsible as adults by neglecting our purpose. We're being irresponsible to ourselves. We're being irresponsible to the world around us. We're being irresponsible to humanity. We're being irresponsible to creation. And we cannot go through our lives in a healthy way. That's why we have so many people that are dealing with mental health situations, is because they feel like their life has no meaning. There are huge consequences to treating your purpose like a hobby. So folks, stop treating your purpose like a hobby. All right, guys. Coach Sully, Reps and Sweat Martial Arts and Fitness. This was Matt Chat.